Okay, guys, today we're going to solve for a side and right triangles. All right, if you're out there, you might want to draw this picture because what we're looking for right now, everybody, is we're looking for what side? Come on, help me out. What? BC. So we're going from B to C. That distance from there to there looks like they put a cool little question mark. I'm going to X it out and put an X. All right, right there. We're looking for X. Now, whenever I'm doing this, what I like to do is I like to draw a little arc next to the angle, and then from there I draw an arrow going across, and what is that label? That labels it my opposite side. Very good. Now, the next thing I like to do is identify what the heck this side represents. What's that side? That's the hypotenuse. So I'm just going to put HYP for hype. All right, now, the next thing I do is I write SOHCAHTOA. Now, what does this help us represent? Sine, cosine, and tangent. All right, I did a whole video over all that good stuff. Just if you don't know what that is, go to the previous video. Now, let's check this out. Ooh, we're looking for the opposite side. They've given us the hypotenuse, so we have the O and we have the H. So which one of these are we going to use? What do you think? That's right, the sine. Very good. So we're going to say the sine of a certain angle. So what's the angle we're going to use? 50 degrees, sine 50, equals x over what number? 3. And then we just simply place this over 1. Here's our ratio, all right, two equal ratios. So we have what's called a proportion. So when we have a proportion, we cross multiply. Now when we cross multiply, we get x equals 3 times the sine of 50 degrees. Now the only thing that would make this tricky is if we had the 3 over an x. If you got like a 3 over an x, then you would have to do one extra step. Hopefully we'll get one where it's a little bit more complicated. But right now just type in 3 sine 50. So I'm going to type in, make sure your calculator's in degree mode as well. So 3 sine 50, and we get 2.298. Oh, what did it say? Round it to the nearest hundredth. So if we wanted to round this to the nearest hundredth, would you guys agree this is my hundredth place? But there's a number right here which would round that up. So I'm actually going to type in 2.3 on this particular one. All right. So you got to make sure you round it correctly. So we're going to type in 2.3. Nailed it. All right. So on this one, right now, what we're going to do is we are going to draw the picture. All right. So go ahead and draw the right triangle to the best of your ability. We are looking for the length of BC, which represents this guy right here. All right. And we have a measure of an angle, which is this right here. Here's our angle. So I'm going to draw an arrow going across. Drawing an arrow going across. Get that all set up. And please write down SOHCAHTOA. All right, so right here, I'm going to put an X right here next to the question mark. What is that side? That's our opposite. What's the 7 represent? Yeah, that's our adjacent side. Because we know the longest side, or the side that's across from the 90-degree angle, that's always your hypotenuse. So we're looking for the what? The opposite side. Which side did they give us? The adjacent side. So we have the O and the A. So which one are we going to use? SOHCAH or TOA? The O and the A. The O and the A. That's right, TOA. We're going to use the O and the A. So this time we're going to start it with the tangent of 65 degrees equals x over 7. Now, once again, this is going to be another easy one. But what I'd like you to do in your journal, is I'm only going to do, this is going to be the last one that I do, so I'm not going to do a more difficult one. But in case you happen to get a more difficult one, what if we had the same triangle, ready? The same triangle, that was 65, but this time the x was right here and the 7 was right there. could we still use tangent? We could still use tangent, but the tangent of 65 degrees this time would equal what? 7 over x instead of x over 7. So what happens when you get this scenario? When you get this scenario, then you have to go one extra step. So if you would please, this is my last example problem. So please, I want you to draw two of them, one with the current situation and one with the slightly trickier situation. Does everybody understand this one's easy? Because if I cross multiply here, what do we get on this scenario? We get x equals, right, x times 1 equals 7 times the tangent of 65. But here, when we cross multiply, we get x times the tangent of 65 equals 7. So here we're done. We just type it in the calculator and we're done. But over here, I would have to do one extra step. What would be the only step I would have to do a little extra on? Yeah. So this one I have to divide each side by what? The tangent of 65 degrees. Now I have a sneaky suspicion you will have one where you have to divide that little extra step where these will cancel out. Now ours, we didn't have to do this. What did we have to do? Just do what? 7 tangent 65. So I'm going to type in 7 tangent 65. That's going to be our answer. But what would you have to do on the other one? You have to do 7 divided by the tangent of 65. And then this would be the answer for the other. So I'm going to put 15.01 as this answer. So I'm going to write down for this one, it's going to be 15.01. But for this value of x, that's going to be approximately 3.26. 3.26, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. If that's 7, this is definitely going to be less than 7. Whereas on this one, if that's 7, that's going to be definitely a lot more than 7. So I'm going to type in 15.01. So make sure you have this scenario in your journal where you eventually would have to divide, or the easy scenario where all you have to do is just cross multiply and you're done. So right now, I'm going to type in 15.01. And hopefully I did everything correct. I rounded it good. Nearest hundredth. All right, I'm just going to do that one. Oh, hey guys, here's the one. I'm not going to do it all the way through, but this is the one where you'd have to divide. So if you take a look at this one, you don't have to do this one in your journal. You can kind of watch how I set it up. If I draw an arrow going across, and I got to find this side, I'll call it x. That's the opposite over the adjacent. So I'd have to do the tangent of 20 equals 4 over x. So when I cross multiply, that's where you have to do that extra step. Okay, so this one you'd have to do x times the tangent of 20 equals 4, and then you'd have to divide both sides by the tangent of 20. So this one, I'm not going to go ahead and solve it, but this is one of the ones where you actually have to do that one extra step, because after cross multiplication, you have to end up dividing it by both sides. So this one is it's not too bad, it's just solving for a side. The next thing we're going to talk about is solving for the measure of an angle. So if you would please, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to reward some students who are doing what they're supposed to, and then we're going to keep moving on. All right, so here we go. Hopefully you've drawn the triangle. This time, we're trying to find the measure of angle B. So you can see that little question mark right there. That's what we're trying to find. I'm going to use capital B for this particular scenario. Once again, I always draw an arrow going across. Some of you might be wondering, why? Why would you do that? Because that always helps me label the opposite side. Once I label my opposite side, then I label my hypotenuse, and then I finish it off with my adjacent side. Then I circle the information that was given to us. So, that was kind of a hint. Ka. Toa. So, the letter O represents opposite. The letter H represents hypotenuse. So which trig ratio are we going to use? The first, the second, or the third? First. All right. Man, I wish Jackbox TV had like murder trivia party for trigonometry. That'd be fun. All right. All right. So we're going to use sine. So we'll put the sine of what letter of capital B equals my opposite side, which is 4 over my hypotenuse, which is a 9. Now, something we're not able to do in the we can't divide both sides by sine. So don't do this because you're not allowed to. You can't divide both sides by sine. That doesn't work. So I'll go back. But you can. Yeah, so this is where you do the inverse of sine. So we're going to multiply both sides by what's called the inverse of sine. So I'm going to try to fit it in right here. Try to fit it in. I'm going to erase that equal sign. Make it a little smaller equal sign. And then just put the inverse of sine. And these will cancel out. We're left with capital B. And we're going to do what's called the inverse of sine. Now, this only works if your calculator is in what mode? Degree mode. So here we go. I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to hit second sine and put 4 over 9 close parentheses. And we get 26.387, which rounds to 26.39. So I'm going to put 26.39 degrees. Now, if you don't have a graphing calculator, that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to pause them real quick. All right, so let's say everybody has access to this wonderful program called Desmos. Okay, so if you're in Desmos, you could just go there and you can literally go to functions and do what's called the inverse of sine. But you got to make sure, once again, you're not in radians mode, you're in degree mode. So you got to go to little wrench and make sure you go to degree mode, and then you could type it into Desmos and you still get the same answer, 26.39. So if you're at home and you're trying to do stuff, always have Desmos in your phone. Or no, they don't pay me to say that. It's just very useful. Okay, it's a very useful tool for any math class that you're dealing with. Did I do? Oh, typed into the wrong one. Oopsie. There we go. 26.39. There we go. Just typed it into the wrong assignment. Don't worry about it. All right, so that's our first one. We do one more. Here we go. One more. There's your triangle. Draw it nice and neat, and we'll move on from there. So in this particular one, we're looking for angle A, which is this angle right in here. This is angle A. All right. What we need to do is we need to draw an arrow going across, which labels our opposite side. Then I'm going to label my hypotenuse, and that's going to leave me with my adjacent side. So I have my adjacent side and I have my opposite side. So I'm going to put capital O, put capital A. Then I'm going to write down my 3 trig ratios. Okay? SOHCAHTOA. So after you draw that out, and you write down the O and the A, then you scan. Which one is the only one that has an O and an A? TOA. Right there. There's the O and the A. So this is where I have to write down the tangent of capital A equals my opposite side, which is 5, over my adjacent side, which is 7. And what's the only step that we have to do that after we set it up? Just find the what? The inverse of tangent on this side and the inverse of tangent on this side, and these will cancel out, and you're left with your answer. So it's going to be the inverse of tangent, 5 over 7. So second tangent, 5 over 7, which gives us, now this is where students will make a mistake if they, remember, it's to the nearest hundredth. Does everybody see that number right there? So I'm going to have to do 35.5 what? What do you think? 4 degrees. 35.54 degrees. All right. 35.54. I had to round it up. Make sure you round to the nearest hundredth. And that's all you guys got to do. All right, so there's a couple of examples from each section. Please work on those and get those done. And have a good day.